confident as one can in a war of this nature, yes. The tide certainly seems to be halted against us, and the battle right now is to see whether we can turn and seize the advantage and the initiative from the enemy. The enemy I've seen in these past 2 years. Once we set them on the run, I think they'll continue running till they're completely out of our territory.
And you wouldn't chase them?
Wait and see. Wait and see.
Well, I don't think the act of stretching out a helping hand to the needy is a monopoly of any particular organization or group of people. I only know that whatever I've done in my own time, my own expense, the risk of my own life. And I also believe that had I not done what I did, then several thousands of tons of food would not have been flown in. $250,000 of medicine would not have reached the Biafrans, and 5 orphans from Biafra would not have been saved when I flew them into Amsterdam to a better hospital and giving them a chance to live.
You have just returned from your 3rd mission into Biafra. Just how dangerous is the situation?
Well, going into Biafra is not like flying on a regular airline trip. It's dangerous from the moment you take off. You fly under conditions of very bad weather almost every time. You fly across borders where you may be shot at. Some planes have been shot at. You land on a runway which is really a widened highway. The whole approach to that place is very narrow. The aircraft are not in the best serviceable conditions. It's in short a condition of war. It's just a calculated risk that people take when they go in.
Mm-hmm. On your last trip, you took £250,000 worth of aid, and you personally saw this distributed. How much aid is actually reaching those who need it from others apart from yourself, and how near does this amount come to what is actually needed?
Well, I made sure myself that the goods were distributed between the Catholic organizations, the Protestant, the World Council of Churches, and the chief government pharmacist. I don't believe that any of the goods are being pilfered. I believe that the church organizations are doing a job which, had it not been for them, the death toll would have been considerably higher. You have priests all over the place into the bush, particularly the Irish. The gowns are not white anymore. They're dirty, they're wet from the rain, but they do a terrific job over there. But it's nowhere near the amount of food and medicine that is needed to keep these people alive, because most of them have ran away from the cities. They're out in the bush. They're afraid to come out. So you got to go out to the villages, and every other place you see several thousand of women and children, and the people's just sitting down there. There's nothing to eat, and they just wait to die.
Mm-hmm. During your time in Biafra, you've gained the confidence of Colonel Ojukwu. Can you tell us why he continues to wage a war that can only end in disaster?
Well, I think it's really an illusion on those people who believe that this war is going to end as a disaster for the Biafrans. I don't think people are given the proper picture. I think what is happening in Biafra today is the birth of a new people. It is a nation that someday Africa will be very proud to have in their midst such a people who believe that they are fighting for survival. They just believe it. They know that for them disaster would mean just complete annihilation. And what is happening there today, the spirit of the people and the purpose, I think it's an example for the whole world. I think the world must be proud that in Africa itself, people have risen to a state where they believe in the spirit of man, and they believe their right to live must not be denied.
Do you think a solution can be found to the war?
I think so, and Britain can help, even though she's completely, I think unfortunately, it is the very bad amateur diplomacy that has created this problem in Nigeria. I believe that if arms were stopped, these arms supplies were stopped to Nigeria, the Nigerians would be more prepared to negotiate. I believe unless there's a ceasefire, even forced if necessary by the United Nations, which is really our only hope, even though she doesn't even discuss the problem of Biafra. If the blockade was broken and food sent and the two sides were brought to the negotiating table, I think Britain could play a very effective part and could still gain the future confidence of the Biafrans. Because if not that, I think there's going to be a curse on this country by these people. And fortunately, I don't think they blame the British people. I think it is a smear on the British people for what the policy of this government, the British government, is in Nigeria.
Do you think that Colonel Ojukwu is prepared to negotiate for a peace with the federal troops?
Well, I have met him several times. I've met him several times in long conversations, even alone. I think it is a little late, but it can still be done. And the idea, because there is no other choice. The other choice is that if the Nigerians get more and more arms, maybe by force of arms, they would kill, but they'd have to kill each and every Biafran before the war would end. And it can be a years. And the main victims are the innocent